right, another edition of Rock Talk here on CSX. I'm Jim O'Brien with Screamin Scott and Randall. Hi, buddy. You and I got in a discussion. Well, good. We got in a discussion in the hallway, and I wanted to carry this over here in no particular order because I don't want to get into the whole, well, you rank this one over that, although we know Light Bullet's the best. The greatest live albums in classic rock.
As my personal ones, or just overall?
Yeah, yours.
Yeah,
no,
mine.
yours and mine, because it's all subjective. It's what people like or don't like. And just because you're wrong doesn't mean we shouldn't share it.
I just wanted to do my homework correctly.
He brought props to this crap, dude.
Yeah, and I brought them with me just so I could show you why these are great. This one, believe it or not, came out in 1989. The band had actually broken up for a while. And then in 1994, they got back together.
He's got a script.
Yeah. And just played a California club, and they recorded it. And it was so fantastic that, believe it or not, the record label that they were on at the time decided, hey, let's release it. But they released it in Japan. It did so well, but so many people in the United States were ordering the Japanese import at music stores like me at Harmony House that it's this one, Docken. Docken, One Live Night is the album. And
nice pull.
it was incredible. I first got it on CD and then had a chance to do a record store day to get this on vinyl. And it is amazing. They sound so good acoustically. And this is after the unplugged stuff was kind of taming down. But to hear these guys do their rockin' songs, rockin' with Docken, acoustically, it was just unbelievable. I mean, all their favorites, Into the Fire, Unchained the Night, Tooth and Nail. Yeah, can you imagine Tooth and Nail acoustic? It is amazing.
No, I didn't know that.
Lucky, In My Dreams. And the best part about it, again, Alone Again Naturally, is a Beatles cover that they did on here. Blew my mind completely away that they would chose a Beatles cover. And they did Nowhere Man acoustically. One Live Night. It's still available. You could probably find it on eBay, but I highly recommend it. Again, it came out record store day last year at this time. Docken, One Live Night.
Okay, you're too organized for this crap. I may just turn the camera off. I'm like, you're making everything like a 3-minute segment. Should I get this sponsored and put a jingle on the end of it?
Sure. I just feel that. I love the album. It was great.
This album. Okay, here's my first one, Live at Leeds, 1970 with The Who. Substitute, think about it. It was such a good version, they went, we're going to release that version. If you're so good live that it comes out like that, that's amazing to me. I don't know, it was something about, I knew The Who, obviously, growing up as a kid, but I didn't really know. And then a friend of mine, we were at a record store, and Live at Leeds was playing, I remember. And we kind of looked around and went, what's that? And that was the first Who album I ever bought.
Really?
Yeah. Honestly. I was in a period like in the 70s and in the 80s when I'd buy vinyl at a record store or anything. A lot of times I was buying stuff based solely on the artwork.
That one didn't have much artwork at the beginning.
I know. And that's why it was weird to me. I bought it. And so that's the other thing. And the other part that influenced me was sometimes I would buy an album based on if I heard it in the record store. And my thought was, I'm a nerd. If they're cool enough to be playing it in the record store, I should be listening to it.
Cool.
See, this is easily influenced. This is pretty much a James at 15 after school special. I was easily influenced by everybody. So that's my first one.
Did you ever have a dream to work at a record store?
No, it wasn't cool enough, dude. No.
Me too. I had the same thing. I applied and applied. It's like, yeah, sure, we'll call you.
You applied?
Yeah, I applied. I applied at Record Time as well as Harmony House, Music. Do you remember Music Stop? Music Stop. And FYE, I think it was called, or something.
Yeah, For Your Entertainment. Yeah. And they said no, all of them?
You're not good enough.
That's why they're out of business now. If you're going to hire Randall, you little a-holes. All right, what's your next one?
Next one, it's a little close and near and dear to my heart. Big Outfit's always been known for a lot of great live albums, but this one is a little special because I'm on it. Hey, Scott, tell us the story how you're on the album.
No, I don't want it.
I'd love to.
I'm not. I'm done. I'm out. You brought props and you're on a live album. Okay, go ahead.
No, I'm on it. It's just, we went to see the shows when they recorded them at Pine Knob. And personally, from having to deal with me at work, that I do this incredible whistle.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, believe it or not, during one of the songs, he was doing a lead up to Love Stinks. And during the song, he was talking about Adam in the Garden of Eden getting the munchies. And I I don't know why. I just grabbed a, and
So we hear you on the
yeah,
album?
you can hear me on the Jake House Live album. And another thing that's cool is when they do Love Stinks, side one is the lead up of the story of Adam and Eve and the story of love. And he goes, love, and it cuts off. You flip the record over, play side two, and it comes back, stinks. But a great, great album, recorded right at Pine Knob. Well, one of my personal live favorites.
So, okay, my next one is going to be the box set of Springsteen, 75 to 85.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's like not just one live album, but I was looking it up. So it's live 75 to 85. The River. You know, that's Donnie and Jenny. You hear the texting? Haven't heard from them all day. Haven't heard from them all day. The second I start talking to you, they text me like 14-year-olds. We're planning to go to the mall to get a slice of Sbarro. I kid you not. I look up going, and they're talking about wind chimes that we're going to hang up at the studio or something.
Really?
They know that you and I are talking. Anyway, Springsteen, that whole 10-year period when you listen to it, the version of Thunder Road on there,
Yeah.
and we had a friend who he was that guy. He had the bootlegs. And
Yeah.
he came, I didn't know it. And we were talking to him. He was a friend of our neighbors. And we're sitting there. And I said, so are you a Springsteen guy? And he's like, oh, yeah, he's from Buffalo. And he goes out to his car and he tells us, I've seen him like 300 times. I'm like, whatever, dude. And he pulls out this cassette, like, you know, remember the big holders? You unclip them like that? They were all labeled by date. He had hundreds of bootleg shows, hundreds. I was supposed to be hanging out with a drug dealer ever, and it was a Springsteen guy. He had them all. He was explaining to me what was different about each show. He knew the tracks on it, everything else. But that Springsteen live one, pretty damn good. Although I was almost going to put in there the one that he did in New York City at Madison Square Garden with 41 shots on it.
You're right.
That's pretty good too, man. That's pretty good.
In
But
the
I
show
remember
at
on stage with Springsteen when he said, "Hey Jim, come on up and do that." He did.
no,
I'm just trying to keep up with you.
no. I
All right.
had never been to a Springsteen concert. My good friend Dan Zoko said, I'm buying you a ticket. And this is just before Born in the USA hit the stores. And he had stopped by the Motor City. I was just like, geez Louise, it's 3.5 hours already. When is this guy going to stop? But it was, again, the most incredible concert to see live.
We were at the one at, I can't say I was at the one at the Palace when he said, hello, Ohio.
I remember you telling me that story.
Ohio. And you see little Steven walk up going, hey, we're in Detroit. And he's like, God damn it, I've never done that in 43 years. It was hilarious because everyone knew what he had done. And we're all kind of, did he just say Ohio? And I'm like, yeah. Anyway,
That's kind of like the story of David Lee Roth, going, I forgot the effing words. And I thought, it's like, wow, that was pretty cool. And then I went and seen him in Cleveland, and he did the exact same thing. And I was like,
let's bang through the last three here. What's your next one?
all right. Next three, near and dear to your heart. I was never old enough to go see Bob Seger at Kobo, but I did for the 9 Tonight shows. I'm not on this album, but again, it was just to see Bob do a show live was just incredible, and just the love that he gave. I mean, he did 33 shows at Pine Knob, I believe.
Yeah. It's nice. 33 Bob Seger Drive.
And wow, and just all the shows he did everywhere. I remember seeing him on a St. Patrick's Day. Believe it or not, I forget what year it was.
Let me tell you a story about the Seger 33 Bob Seger Drive. I'm gonna get in trouble for this, but screw it, I'll share it anyway. Well, I was talking to Adam Graham, and we were discussing, and I was kicking around the idea after Bob Seger Boulevard, why don't we change that to name it 33 Bob Seger Drive? So we came up with the name, and we shared it with Tom Wilson, who at the time was the president for Palace Sports Entertainment. He ran it up the food chain. Everybody said, yeah, it's a great idea. And then when they did it, I got to go out and MC the event, right? Remember, I was out there on stage, and it was amazing. It's one of those moments. I never got a sign.
You're kidding me.
It's been, no, at this point, it's kind of a running joke. Every time I go out there, I'm go, you got my sign? And they're like, yeah, well, Dave Clark, we'll get right on that, Jim. Tom Wilson retired, took the sign. I'm convinced. Tom Wilson, I want my goddamn sign.
I could tell you the one that's in the studio.
That's the Bob Seger Boulevard one. I stole one of those. If there's the 33 Bob Seger, that's not a 33 one, is it?
33 one.
Nuts on that one. Okay, so is it my turn?
Yes, your turn.
Since we're talking, since you mentioned 9 Tonight, which I think's underrated, and I know Bob did a bunch of the guitar work when they remastered. They're working on remastering it too. I probably shouldn't have said that. Anyway, I'm gonna say Live Bullet just because the whole idea of being in the moment. I mean, it's the 50th. This year's the 50th anniversary of the recording. Came out in '76, right? Yeah. So this is, but they recorded in '75 here in Detroit with Kobo. But I always don't know if people understand that was a 4-year set list. They did that same set list for 4 years. So when you saw them, they had that thing. I mean, they were almost as good as Chit live.
Almost.
Come on, man. I worked the band in for you, Scott.
Yeah,
No,
thank you.
seriously though.
I
To
appreciate
think
it.
about like that's when Bob's doing shows where he's playing the Silver Dome in front of 70,000 people, and then the next night 400 in Chicago, or so regional. And to have that moment, yeah, Live Bullet track for track as good as it gets. All right, next one.
I still have friends that are a little older than I am. Remember seeing them at Oakland Mall in front of the Hudson store in the parking lot.
Go online. If you guys don't look that photo up, it's hilarious.
It's just amazing. It's
Yeah,
just like, wow. They had some pretty cool shows. All right,
for sure.
next up, the Beatles, live at Hollywood Bowl. This is unlike the Capitol release that they did a long time ago. This is the one that they used, the Ron Howard for the film, but it still
Right.
has all the same tracks as when they recorded at the Hollywood Bowl,
So
which
is
is,
it remastered then
yeah,
for the
it's
Ron
all
Howard film?
remastered and redone, and just it is just incredible. The movie is incredible if you get to see it, the Ron Howard movie, but it's just the Beatles being the Beatles at their prime, and the inside
Scott, I
coverage.
don't think I've ever heard it. Seriously, I mean, I've heard the songs, but I've never listened to this before.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
always loved the live album, just the raw sign, and just hearing all the. They always say it's like, oh, but the girls scream, scream, scream. It was just amazing how they got a recording out of that. It was just amazing. I didn't again, not old enough to see them at the Olympia, the old Red Barn, uh,
Right.
but I can just
How many years
imagine
did
what
they
a
actually?
concert would
They
be.
only did live shows for a couple of years, right?
Yeah,
And they kind of quit. Okay,
I think
because I always wondered, like,
I think it was 60, 64, 64, 65, and I think they were done by 66, the end of 66, 67.
that was it. All right, my next one, the Fillmore East, the Allman Brothers.
Ah,
Yeah. I mean, Whipping Post and Jessica and Memory of Elizabeth Reed. But that to me is it's just cool. I mean, it's just cool. And take a moment before you listen to it and learn
mm,
the backstory of the Allman Brothers and their relationship with the Fillmore and all the stuff they would do. A friend of mine who's the key Chuck Lavelle.
mm.
Chuck Lavelle is a member of the Rolling Stones, their keyboard player now, was in the Allman Brothers before that when he was like 18 years old. And if I can occasionally he'll start telling stories about playing the Fillmore. And those were open-ended jam sessions. The way it was understood to me is like once you're a member of the Allman Brothers band, you're a
Mm.
member and you could show up at any gig whenever you wanted and play. So they would have jam sessions, no idea who was going to play with them. That's kind of cool. But yeah, that's my fourth one.
All right. My last and final one is a tribute to you because I know that you know somebody that was there live in the front row, probably holding up a poster.
Yeah. I was waiting. I intentionally didn't touch that one because I knew you would do this. I remember this one at Cobalt.
This is the same copy that I've had since it came out. I remember in junior high school, my junior year in high school, and Kiss had come out, and a good friend of mine, Brian Shorkey, goes, "You got to listen to this band." So went over his house and he pulled out this album, and I was just like, "Wow, this is
Wow.
incredible." And not knowing that Kiss had put out a few albums ahead of time, I just went back and brought "Dress to Kill" and "Rock and Roll Over" and all that. But this is a beauty. This led up to very bad Halloween costumes.
You drink water. Yeah, it's fine. We're talking here, man. Yeah. How dare human
Led
beings
to
drink water?
very bad Halloween costumes. Now I'll give you you got a 1 in 4 chance guess of who I went as Halloween.
Paul, Gene, really? But
No,
you're a front man.
no,
Why did
no.
why did you go as Gene?
I went as Peter Chris.
Okay, Starman. Okay, Cat. No, I was getting mixed up. So that we have a listener, a guy that would call. He's the dude holding up the sign on the back of it, right? There he is. Yep. It's always funny too, Scott, because like you'll have people tell you like, "Oh yeah, I was there for the recording. How old are you? 6."
Yeah.
Well, okay. Yeah. Or they'll go like, how old are you? 52. So you were 2 and your parents said, you know what? Let's take him to a Kiss concert.
Mm,
My last one is Budokan with Cheap Trick. I know people are like, oh, you could. I was Heart did one that came out, I think, in 2003, a live album of theirs. That is the other one I was kind of waffling about because that's amazing to hear them live. But Budokan for me, it was the first time I'd really listened to a live album. Like I mentioned the Who one earlier, and I had it and I listened to it. It was like in your stack of albums, it would play. But Budokan I listened to over and over and over I knew every song every time. And when it came on the radio, I would turn it up. I knew every single thing. And I was just like, I think I told you. So real quick story, grew up, my dad and I, we were living in an apartment, small building, and one of the kids on the corner, and God bless him, I don't remember his name. And we moved a lot. I went to 13 schools in 12 years.
Holy cow.
Wild. Yeah, we moved a lot. They had my dad would go to work. I'm kind of like doing the latchkey kid thing, and I'm waiting for the bus. And him and I became friends. And then we had Budokan. We would listen to Budokan after school. And then before school, his mom would go, "You have to eat something." So she would bring me in the house. And I remember it was the wildest home because she was Jewish, dad was Italian. There were like 4 kids in this 3-bedroom apartment, and it was chaos. It was just no, it was so much fun to be around. And she would make sure I would eat. In the midst of all of it, he would go over and put Budokan on in the record player every morning. So every morning before we went to school for months, that's all we listened to was Budokan. I know. It's one of those things, man. I was thinking about that. But okay, then let me ask the question about live albums or live music. And this is a broad-based question. You could be anywhere and you could witness one live concert. Doesn't have to be something that's on vinyl, just a moment, like a live moment. Like you could be at Live Aid, or you could be at Woodstock, or you could have been at Live Bullet. Where would you be?
For me, it's still a bucket list. I'd love to see a show at Red Rock.
That U2 album. Do you remember didn't U2 do a live album at Red Rocks? Okay. All right. God, that would be cool. I want to be in the crowd standing next to the Beatles when Jimi Hendrix does Sgt. Pepper's.
Wow, yeah, that would have been great. Couldn't you just imagine the expression on Paul McCartney and George Harrison? I think John was there with them, and all of a sudden he starts doing Sergeant Pepper, and it's like,
Really?
huh?
Doesn't he yell at him? He goes, "This mic, plug your ears. This might get loud." I love that, man. I love it. All right. It's a little bit of rock talk today.
Do you have an honorable mention of one that you just couldn't decide on? Because I've got one real quick one.
What?
It was Elton John's 11-17-70. Not very well known. It's out there, and it was one of his first live shows that they played on the radio. I believe it was WABC KNBC out in California.
Okay.
Recorded a concert, and they pressed it onto a vinyl, and it was like America's really first raw taste of Elton John live. He plays some early tunes. He does an outrageous Rolling Stones cover of Honky Tonk Woman, but it's one of my Elton John favorites.
For me, it'd be The Heart One or Exit Stage Left by Rush.
Good one.
Yeah, it's another one there. All right. Now, since you brought all that vinyl in, that means it stays in the studio and we can have it.
Can we drag a turntable in here?
No, I'm going to seal it tomorrow morning and take it home. That's what I meant by leave it there.
Sure. If you want to borrow them, sure.
It's my new feature. Hey, Screamin', find this. See you, bud.